of faith is to be paid to the teaching of the Supreme Pontiff or College of Bishops, enunciate on faith and morals, which the Supreme Pontiff or College of Bishops enunciate on faith and morals. So what the Supreme Pontiff, the Supreme Mediator, says, or his College of Bishops, on faith and morals, you have to submit your intellect and will. And this is the same teaching. It is not upheld with the rigors of the past, or there are no sanctions like the past, but the same mindset is there. And I think that we have to see that, and we have to realize that Bible believers were fortified. They saw what the Apostle Peter said, kept by the power of God. And they were kept by the power of God. And their faith resounded at that time before the throne of God. And it still resounds on the pages of history for those who dare read the true historical accounts.
Why would the Church, that claims to be a humanitarian loving organization, continue to write those canons into her modern law? Could it be that the Roman Catholic Church is still using those laws and maintaining that same mindset in our day and age?
Well, it's certainly among the best kept secrets of the history of the 20th century that an Inquisition which was as severe as in previous centuries that we've been discussing did take place at the time of the Second World War. Just to give you a little background first, in 1929 Benito Mussolini signed the Lateran Treaty with the Pope of the time, Pope Pius XI, officially conceding Vatican Hill to the Pope. In other words, the Vatican to be set up again as a political entity. And the papacy once again became a sovereign civil state. The legal agreement with Mussolini was just the beginning of the concordats that were to be established with many nations, perhaps the most infamous being the one between Pope Pius XII and Adolf Hitler. And the Vatican formed alliances with the following Roman Catholic dictators, among others: Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, Francisco Franco in Spain, Antonio Salazar in Portugal, Juan Perón in Argentina, but the most brutal and bloodthirsty of all of them was Anton Pavelic in Croatia. According to a memorandum in the documents of the United States Army's Counterintelligence Corps, dated the 12th of September 1947, agents hunting escaped Nazi war criminals after World War II purposely avoided capturing one man because, to quote the document, his contacts are so high and his present position so compromising to the Vatican that any extradition of the subject would deal a staggering blow to the Roman Catholic Church. The man was Anton Pavelic, head of the new nation-state of Croatia, carved out of Yugoslavia during the war. During Pavelic's 4-year reign, he and Roman Catholic prelate Archbishop Alois Stepinac pursued a convert or die policy among the 900,000 approximately Greek Orthodox Serbs, Jews and others in Croatia. 200,000 were converted. 700,000 who chose to die were tortured, burned, buried alive or shot after digging their own graves. This appalling persecution was carried out by the Ustashis, including many of the worst atrocities of the whole Second World War. Certainly the mutilations were horrific and the savagery was terrible. The Catholic Church did not leave the execution of a religious war to the secular arm on this occasion. She was there herself, openly ignoring precautions and bolder than she had been for a very long time. Wielding the hatchet or dagger, pulling the trigger, organizing the massacre, the Roman Catholic priesthood became again its own instrument of inquisition. Many of the Eustachi officers were priests or friars who were sworn to fight with dagger or gun for, quote, the triumph of Christ and Croatia. Priests played a prominent role in the closing or takeover of the Serbian Orthodox churches, the seizure of church records and the interrogation of the Serbian Orthodox clergy as well. They also supervised the concentration camps and organized the torture of many of the victims. And this is all happening in the 20th century. French author Edmond Paris, who was born a Roman Catholic, has written a very thorough account of this terrible massacre in his book Convert or Die, and he wrote, "It's difficult for the world to believe that a whole people could be doomed to extermination by a government and religious hierarchy of the 20th century just because it happened to belong to another ethnical and racial group and had inherited the Christianity of the Byzantine kind instead of the Roman kind." The world does not in fact know and is thus unable to understand fully all this background in the Second World War to what happened in the Balkan Wars of the 1990s in Yugoslavia, after the Vatican, note the Vatican, led Western nations in recognizing Croatia as an independent sovereign state. And of course, immediately hostilities broke out between the Croats and the Serbs, given this background of what took place in the Second World War. British historian and journalist Andrew Roberts of the Sunday Telegraph expressed surprise in that newspaper. He wrote, "In the present crisis, almost the entire Western media have chosen to champion the Croats." He goes on to ask the question, how are the Serbs expected to react to the decision to adopt the Ustaši's checkered symbol as the Croatian national flag? In Krajina, it takes longer than the 45-minute attention span of today's CNN broadcaster to forget the way Franciscan friars participated in the slaughter of Serbs in Croatian Bosnia. Orthodox Serbs were promised protection if they converted to Catholicism, but were then killed after they entered the churches as the priests looked on. The attempt during the Second World War to create the entirely Roman Catholic independent state of Croatia was accompanied by a persecution so ferocious that it is difficult to find a parallel in all of history. The Inquisition applied to the Serbian Orthodox by the Croatian Catholics accounted for 700,000 Serbs tortured and killed in just 4 years. And of course, we have that state that they wanted in Croatia now.
In the year 2000, the Pope asked for forgiveness for the part that the members of the Church played in the Inquisition.
I remember the time well. It was March in the year 2000. The Pope asked for forgiveness for the acts of the members of the Church that they had done in the service of truth. Now, it wasn't the members of the Church or individual members of the Church who did these things. It was the papacy itself, and the popes in particular. Peter de Rosa had said 80 popes in a row. In my study of going through one after another of popes in the past, as I have studied history,